Hello everybody, there I'm back with only a slightly itchy throat today. Today we're going to talk about Starfield. We talk about character creation, the dialogue system, all that kind of thing. I've done dialogue videos before, but now we're going to do it from a modder's perspective. Now what you see behind me is what I want to talk about. I think you've got points down here, and the amount of points you can spend down here, I think it is. No, I don't persuasion, turns and whatnot. Right, so if you've got +1, +3, +5, whatever else, I'm guessing that's how many points you've got. And when you run out of points, the dialogue ends. You failed or succeeded. Now, if you imagine, right, each one of them leads to a whole group of answers. Bethesda pursued that route before in Fallout 4. This is just another rework in the Fallout 4. It worked for the first 10 minutes of the game, then they got bored and abandoned it, and just all answers went to the same answer. I got a feeling that's going to happen here, right? Although, to be honest, they do say they've got like 250,000 dialogue things now, so maybe not. But they've done this before. This is just a reworking of the same old Fallout 4 thing, and I didn't mod Fallout 4 because I hated the dialogue system. But the way they presented it here, instead of being on a little grid here and you select whatever you want, you've got a little point system here that refers to difficulty. So which you pick depends on how many points you're willing to commit to that answer. On the other hand, what happens if you do +1, +1, +1, +1? So all answers are even. You could particularly, or even just remove these options completely if there's an option for that, and just have each one done like a traditional Oblivion dialogue system. It could be very useful then for departing information in a normal conversation, with each one leading to a new conversation tree. Gets a bit complicated though. I've still got an itchy throat. Anyway, says it does have possibilities, but also you can do this thing down here. Like if you took a few perks, I'm going to call them perks because they are perks, right? So if you took a few perks that give you a benefit in an advantage in conversations, then you might go for 5 every time. Cut the conversation, just go put up or shut up. End of conversation, get what you want. So you're not listening to loads of waffle, which in some RPGs, especially Obsidian's, is the part of the problem. Because Obsidian like to talk and talk and talk and talk. And the trouble is, their stories are boring. Utterly, incredibly boring. Not with Fallout New Vegas, but in the other games they've produced. They're not very good storytellers. And in a person that's going to talk your head off with someone that's just dull, it does make the game monotonous. So the bottom option is always a good one. Skip it, done. But the others, like one, if you've got like 5 points to spend and you can set the top answer 5 times, you get 5 relatively long answers if you wanted to, or different things, different tactics. I use it at work, for example, when I'm dealing with people that are trying to kill me with a knife. These answers might all be different. Top one might be, I agree, mate. It is a hard life, and you're absolutely right. And the bottom one might be, put the fucking knife down, right? And everything in between might be tactics. Second one might be, oh look, a squirrel, grab the knife. We're distracting, providing the script options behind these that allow you or to control the character's responses. So if you go, look, a squirrel, which is a distraction technique, and he looks away, you might say give him a -1 or a -6 to hit when you eventually attack him on your next thing, because it might be, it says player attacks, take his ballistic skill down to 20 from 80, right? So he suddenly can't hit anything. Then put it back up again after the first round. So there's a few options here. You could use the options to change strategies. The other one might be, I've got friends coming, right? You really want to just walk away now before they arrive, because after that you'd be dead, right? And then you get the answer where the guy just runs away in fear. You see? So there it would be instill fear on this character, so he runs, and that'd be scripted. So potentially each one of those answers could produce an interesting side effect in any conversation. It can be quite a strong system. But it is basically Fallout 4 in a different order. It doesn't matter how Todd Howard works it is a Fallout 4 system. They've just added a few numbers down the side. I mean, every single game that Bethesda made, I've always had a chance of failure. How happy a thing is in it. They've just made it visible. You can see it now. Right, that's all. Moving on to character generation. Now, character generation is a bit different. Well, I say it's a bit different. It's exactly the same. It's Skyrim perk system. When you make a character, right, you get to choose three starting perks, right? Or three starting skills perks, right? Like diplomacy. You see it in this video, right? Or another video they did, right? Where you pick diplomacy and you get like a benefit. You can make people who are lower level than you calm down, and stop fighting for a while, and other things like that. Now, a lot of these skills in past games have been absolutely useless, right? They don't actually have any benefit. And also, Bethesda, like I said, tend to get a bit bored about halfway, well, not halfway, about a third of the way into the game. They stop using these systems. Obsidian, on the other hand, who makes some very boring dialogue, so you probably want to skip it, are pretty good at maintaining it all the way through the game. So skill checks are always a factor. They used to do it in Morrowind, Bethesda, but they haven't really kept it up since then. They get bored before the end of the game and you never see it again. So the idea of having these skills that you can pick from a company that get bored of applying skills to dialogue means you're probably selecting a skill that never be used. I mean, you think of it this way, persuasion in Oblivion, right? It was okay at the beginning, but after a certain time, you had 100% persuasion just from your actions. Instantly nullified the point of the skill. So why was it even there? So you get the point I'm trying to make. These skills, perks, right, that you get at the beginning of the game are going to be varied in usefulness. And quite frankly, if you've got to do the same quest to remove the bad aspects like they're suggesting, that's going to get old fast as well. Because you're going to be doing, it's a bit like going through the whole of Helgen on the cart, right? To get to the part of the game where you can actually do something, and then having to go through the getting the stone and the killing the dragon before the game will let you just do what the hell you want without worrying. So the game is actually progressing and not held static. You don't want to be doing that, but Bethesda keep forgetting people will play their games more than once. So it's not a good thing, these statistics. I'm pretty much against perks. Sorry, skills, right? For that reason. Now, when they do the leveling up, they have like different icons you click on to get the details up. You click on ballistics, it tells you 4 ballistic things, and you level it up by using a gun. That's good. That's the old Oblivion system, right? That's how that works. You can level up in Skyrim the same way. They produce it in a skill tree, right? Where you click on the skills and you get it up, and when you're leveling up, you can see it all and add points to it and things like that, or add perks to it. So basically, they're talking the same thing again. It's just a reworking of the Skyrim system, which they're trying to, blow smoke up our asses, in the case of making it sound like a new system when it's actually not. It's the old system. So you click on an icon to get the stats instead of just being able to go down the list and see it. Ballistic skill is 6 or 7 or 20 or 30. You've got to click on the icon to get that. So you don't get an instant representation of all your skills. You've got to go through the icons one by one. That's not a good system. That there is actually going to be quite monotonous and get old quite quickly. And Todd Howard in about 2 years' time will be saying, yeah, now we think about it, it would probably not a great system, because he hasn't thought about what it's going to be like the third or fourth or fifth time players start looking at it, and suddenly they're going, God, I wish this was all on one page. However, the leveling up through usage, that is a good idea. Getting your gun skill up by using your gun, that's the Oblivion system, the Elder Scrolls system. It's not the Fallout system. The Fallout system is you level up and then you assign points to various weapons and skills. Whereas in the Elder Scrolls thing, you only level up skills by using those skills. So basically, the skills that level up fastest are the ones you prefer to use. That is how you naturally progress down the skill tree. Now, in a previous video, I mentioned, different types of characters like steampunk, cyberpunk, you might get cyborgs, that kind of thing. Now, if you look at the way futures changed in, say, the 1800s, people couldn't have predicted the motor car. So if you imagine if things hadn't changed and we made a film back then of the future as we saw it using the Todd Howard's vision, basically making it as close to today as possible, but certainly in the future. Today, you'd have horse and carts with flashing blue lights and police going, "No, pull over, where are the police?" Because he hasn't looked beyond the horse and cart in that. He's stuck on the horse and cart. By being hard science fiction, he's not being science fiction. He's being normal today. It's science present he's talking about based on what we think will be the future today. I always say to them, the ones that think the future, they know the future, produce films of flying cars around giant metropolises, and it doesn't happen. Or gigantic pyramids with flying cars and Blade Runners in them. It hasn't happened, has it? Right? So it's going to be wrong. Right? You might as well have just thrown the book out and just think, let's go pure science fiction, not worry about the facts. I mean, you could have stuck with the fact of the technologies, which is where it all hangs up. Everything else should go out the window, though, in my book, and just go with it. But anyway, so the whole thing itself, with the configuration options from the screen, everything else, and maybe maybe the ships as well, because you get to do a few configuration options on the ships as well. It's going to be good. It is going to be a good aspect to the game. The idea of being able to just configure your character and everything else, the way we do it is going to get old fast, I think, because you're not going to want to be clicking on icons all the time. But the fact it's there is a good thing. The dialogue system might be more Fallout 4 and they might not use it as much. Remember, I didn't mod Fallout 4 because I hated the dialogue system. Right, so if that ends up being very similar to Fallout 4, I probably won't touch it with a barge pole because, quite frankly, Fallout 4 was a horrendous system. But I will say this, provisionally, it's got an awful lot of potential. An awful lot of potential. So it depends on how they implement it and how long-winded it is to get that one line of dialogue to appear. And also remember, because that one line of dialogue isn't actually being spoken, it's like these old RPGs that had thousands of lines of dialogue. Right? It's free. You just type it out in an editor and there it is. You don't have to record it. The only thing you need to record is his answer. And if you get bored of doing 4 different answers for every bit of dialogue, then basically you just get him to say, yeah, for all 4, which is what Bethesda did in Fallout 4 in the end. Because whilst they start out meaning with all 4 options having different answers, it didn't take long for Bethesda to get bored of doing that and just, yeah, to every answer. That's probably what's going to happen there. But for the rest of us, that represents 4 chances of having 4 different conversations. And the chances are you could probably configure how many of these you want, whether it be 1, 4, 5 or whatever else. I'm guessing that would be a dynamic box that gets bigger or smaller according to how many lines you add. With probably a hard limit. That's what I'm guessing anyway. So it will be good. It'll be good to see how it works. All the configuration options, the way it all works together, would be good. It'll be powerful, if you know what I mean. If not the best system I would have picked. But yeah. Don't let this video make you think I'm being negative about Starfield, because I'm not. I am just poking holes in a few things I see issues with. I would really like to have seen them taking more of a fantasy approach and being more out there instead of trying to root it in today's world. I don't think today's science fiction thing is something that ever ages well. I think they went that way with the new Dune films. And I found them distinctly unimpressive compared to the original Dune film, from the 81. And all the sad things they've made since. Making it look more normal doesn't make it look good in my book. So, anyway, we'll see anyway. I think it'll be worth playing and worth owning, but whether it'll actually be a decent game or not, we'll have to wait and see, So it depends, really. It depends on how they implement it. Because if you think about it, right, what we're looking at here right now is Firefly. And Firefly got cancelled in season 1. Great film, great series, but it got cancelled. I think it's because the characters basically made it worth watching, if not the world. The world was a bit uninspired, but the characters worked really well. And if the characters work really well in this, then maybe it'll work. Anyhow, we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, we can still continue to theorise and talk about it and just generally have a bit of a laugh and see what it's like when it comes out in the new year. See you in the next one.